Bad habits are not caused by weak discipline. In many cases, they're evidence that your brain is working exactly as intended. For decades, we've been told that bad habits are personal failures. If you procrastinate, you need more discipline. If you overeat, you need more self-control. If you spend hours scrolling through your phone instead of doing what matters, you simply need to try harder. But there's a problem with that explanation, because some of the smartest, most successful, and most disciplined people in the world struggle with the exact same habits. They know the consequences, they understand the risks, and yet they still repeat behaviors they wish they could stop. So what if we've been asking the wrong question? Instead of asking why people lack discipline, perhaps we should ask something stranger. Why would the human brain repeatedly encourage behaviors that seem harmful in the first place? To answer that question, we need to travel backward, not years, not centuries, but tens of thousands of years into humanity's past. Because the real story of bad habits began long before civilization existed. Today, most explanations for bad habits begin with a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often described as the brain's reward molecule. Whenever you experience something beneficial, your brain releases dopamine, helping reinforce behaviors that increase your chances of repeating that experience in the future. Eat something sweet, receive social approval, discover useful information, achieve a goal, your brain rewards you. Over time, these rewards create patterns. Neurologists call these patterns habit loops. A cue triggers a behavior. The behavior produces a reward. The reward strengthens the behavior. Eventually, the loop becomes automatic. This explanation is useful, but it leaves something important unanswered. Why did the brain evolve this system in the first place? Why would evolution design a machine that constantly pushes us toward rewards? The answer becomes clearer when we examine the world our ancestors actually lived in. For almost all of human history, life was defined by scarcity. Food was uncertain, safety was fragile, resources disappeared quickly, the future was unpredictable. Imagine living as a hunter-gatherer 20,000 years ago. You don't know where your next meal will come from. You don't know whether winter will be harsh. You don't know whether another tribe will appear tomorrow. In that environment, waiting for perfect long-term outcomes wasn't always possible. Survival depended on immediate opportunities. If food was available, eat it. If shelter was available, use it. If social bonds could be strengthened, strengthen them. The individuals most motivated to pursue immediate rewards often had a survival advantage, and over thousands of generations, natural selection reinforced those tendencies. This is where the story becomes interesting, because your brain wasn't designed for abundance. It was designed for scarcity. The reward systems operating inside your head today were built for a world where valuable resources were rare, and that ancient design still shapes your behavior. Consider sugar. Today, many people struggle with excessive sugar consumption. From a modern perspective, this seems irrational. People understand the health consequences. They know too much sugar can be harmful. Yet cravings remain powerful. Why? Because for ancient humans, sugar was incredibly valuable. Sweet foods provided energy. Energy increased survival. A brain that strongly desired sugar had an advantage. Evolution didn't care whether sugar was healthy in moderation. Evolution cared whether an organism survived long enough to reproduce. Now imagine taking that ancient craving and placing it inside a modern supermarket. Suddenly, a system designed for occasional rewards encounters unlimited access. The result isn't a broken brain. The result is an ancient brain encountering an environment it was never built to handle. The same pattern appears everywhere. Our attraction to social approval, our desire for novelty, our attraction to comfort, our tendency to conserve effort. Each of these traits once served important functions, but modern civilization changed the rules faster than evolution could adapt. For most of human history, information was scarce. Learning something new could improve survival, a new food source, a new tool, a new danger. Curiosity was valuable. Now consider social media. Every swipe delivers novelty. Every refresh promises information. Every notification offers the possibility of something new. The same curiosity system that once helped humans navigate uncertain environments now encounters an endless stream of stimulation. Again, the problem isn't that your brain is malfunctioning. The problem is that ancient survival mechanisms are being activated by technologies that did not exist for 99.9% of human history. This phenomenon is sometimes called evolutionary mismatch. Evolutionary mismatch occurs when traits that evolved for one environment become poorly suited to another. A classic example comes from animals. Moths navigate using moonlight. Artificial lights confuse this navigation system. The behavior itself isn't defective. The environment changed. Humans experience something similar. Many of our struggles arise because modern civilization transformed the environment faster than biological evolution could respond, and nowhere is this more obvious than in our habits. But there's still another layer to this story, because bad habits aren't simply about pleasure, they're also about prediction. Your brain is constantly trying to reduce uncertainty. Predictable behaviors require less energy. Repeated actions become efficient. The more automatic a behavior becomes, the less conscious effort it requires. From an evolutionary perspective, this is incredibly useful. Energy conservation mattered. A brain that could automate routine behaviors gained an advantage, but this creates an interesting side effect. Once a behavior becomes habitual, your brain begins treating it as familiar territory, even if the behavior produces negative consequences. This is why people often continue habits they actively dislike. The habit itself becomes predictable, and predictability feels safe. The brain often prefers familiar discomfort over unfamiliar uncertainty. Think about that for a moment. Many bad habits persist not because they feel good, but because they feel known. And the human brain has always valued certainty. This helps explain why changing habits can feel surprisingly difficult. When you attempt to break a habit, you're not merely removing a behavior, you're introducing uncertainty. You're asking ancient neural systems to abandon established patterns. You're asking a survival machine to take a risk. From that perspective, resistance suddenly makes sense. What feels like laziness may actually be caution. What feels like weakness may actually be an ancient preference for stability. And yet modern culture rarely frames the problem this way. Instead, we often moralize habits. Good habits, bad habits, strong people, weak people, disciplined people, undisciplined people. But reality is usually more complicated. Human behavior emerges from millions of years of evolutionary history interacting with environments that change constantly. The brain isn't a perfect machine. It is a compromise, a collection of adaptations built for problems that existed long before smartphones, processed foods, online entertainment, or modern cities. And perhaps that's why understanding habits requires more than neuroscience. It requires history, because civilization changed humanity in ways we rarely appreciate. Agriculture altered diets, cities altered social structures, writing altered memory, technology altered attention, the internet altered information consumption. Each transformation created new opportunities, but each transformation also introduced new challenges for ancient brains. In many ways, modern humans are still carrying Stone Age software into a digital world, and that realization leads to a deeper question. If so much of our behavior was shaped before civilization existed, how much control do we really have? This question has fascinated philosophers for centuries. On one hand, we clearly make choices, we reflect, we plan, we imagine different futures. But on the other hand, many of the forces influencing our decisions operate beneath conscious awareness. Our preferences, our instincts, our emotional reactions, our habits. Much of what we call choice emerges from systems we did not consciously create. You didn't choose your evolutionary history. You didn't choose the reward systems inside your brain. You didn't choose the environment that shaped your early development. Yet all of these factors influence your behavior every day. Does that mean free will is an illusion? Not necessarily. Perhaps freedom isn't the absence of influence. Perhaps freedom begins with awareness. The more we understand the hidden mechanisms shaping our behavior, the more opportunities we create to respond differently. Awareness doesn't eliminate ancient instincts, but it changes our relationship with them. You cannot remove millions of years of evolution, but you can recognize when ancient systems are operating. You can identify the environments triggering them. You can redesign those environments, and perhaps most importantly, you can stop interpreting every struggle as a personal failure. Because many of the habits people hate most reveal something profound. Not that the brain is broken, but that it is remarkably successful. successful at solving problems from another era, successful at pursuing rewards, successful at conserving energy, successful at navigating uncertainty. The tragedy is that the world changed. The brilliance is that the brain survived long enough to face that change. So the next time you find yourself repeating a habit you wish you could stop, remember this. You are not fighting a defective mind. You are negotiating with an ancient survival system, a system shaped by countless generations of human experience, a system designed for a world that no longer exists. And perhaps the real challenge of modern life is not overcoming our nature, but understanding it. Because the more we understand the hidden history inside our minds, the more clearly we begin to see ourselves. And maybe that's what bad habits have been trying to reveal all along, not weakness, not failure, but the strange story of what it means to be human.